Hey sports fans, welcome back inside the CIF Commissioner's office. I'm Christian Pedersen, joined by the head man himself, Jerry Schniepp. We're here talking about a little bit of anything, a little bit of everything to help educate you guys on the San Diego CIF section and what's going on here. Now, you have a very important, though, this is a little bit of an extra important one because there's a lot of hot button, hot topic issues, but a big one that people really sometimes are like a little skittish to discuss is mental health. You guys have just started a brand new initiative on that front to help high school athletes. Let us know.
So we're in the initial stages, Christian, but it's something I'm very excited about and I'm very passionate about. It became personal for me last year, not because of a family member, but because of what I witnessed and some people I knew that have dealt with mental health issues. And I think, you know, student athletes are not in a situation where they can avoid this. I think there is often more pressure put on student athletes than there are students that aren't athletes. And so we are partnering with Rady's Children's Hospital and an organization called NAMI. It's National Association of Mental Illness. And we are writing some grant proposals, but we're going to move forward regardless if we get grants or not. The idea being that we're going to help identify student athletes that have a level of depression that needs to be addressed, or potentially suicidal ideation. And this hit home for me, Christian, when last year during the course of the school year, we had a handful of student athletes that committed suicide. And it's especially concerning knowing that we have an opportunity with these kids in the afternoons that most people don't, to get to know them better, to get to hear about their fears and spend that extra time with them. And we've got to find a way to identify these kids, number one, provide them resources, number two, and then three, make sure there are opportunities for these kids and there's not a stigma attached to it, that if they need help, they come seek it. And that's what we want more than anything.
Well, Jerry, you mentioned hitting home. I'm getting just waves of emotions right now, and I'm willing to share this with you, San Diego. My sophomore into junior year of high school, I spiraled very, very out of control. I was struggling with some playing time. I got a couple of injuries to my arm for baseball, and I reached a point where I don't know if I would be here right now without Tom Atwell and Dave Ponsford. And I was very lucky that one of the, I mean, for those of you out there who don't know who Tom Atwell is, he's the water polo coach at La Jolla High School. He is one of the biggest physically and mentally, exteriorly toughest individuals that you will ever meet in your entire life.
Agreed.
But when it came down to it, he was one of the people who was the most honest with me about it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not admit it.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting the hair up on my neck thinking about, you know, for the students out there that don't have a connection like that with a certain coach. So where are you guys going from here? How do people, parents, athletic directors, coaches, who gets involved into this? How do they get started into this? What's your plan for this?
So we're rolling this out on September 13th at our symposium, and we're asking schools to volunteer to be part of our initial research and the ability for these kids to come forward and have a resource and an answer for them. So we're going to have student athletes at these schools that volunteer all take exams on the state of their mental health. We are then going to identify kids that may need some resources, and we then are going to provide those resources from them. In addition to that, we're going to provide trainings to any educator on that campus, whether it's a coach, a counselor, a teacher. We're going to provide trainings where we actually pay them to attend to help identify when kids may need help. The ones that won't come forward or haven't come forward, you know, that extra little nudge on the shoulder that Tom Atwell gave you to say, hey,
oh, it was two arms fully extended for a hug. But yeah, I know.
It probably started with, hey, you okay? You know, and then it became, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what coaches should be. Tom Atwell doesn't.
And I didn't even play water polo. He was just my AP Euro teacher.
Wow.
And he I think knew the signs of when your grades are going down. There's usually a correlation between that.
It doesn't surprise me with him, and there are so many quality people like that around. But I think we need to be provided resources as well. What are we looking for here?
Well, because that can sometimes be the biggest problem is that you get snuck up on. I didn't know anything was wrong with him.
Sure.
He seemed so fine. His Instagram he was posting smiling photos on Instagram.
You hear it all the time. And Christian, two things. I don't think it's ever been tougher to be a teenager. You know, with the pressures that are put on kids from school, sports, parents, doesn't matter. It's never been harder. Social media has quadrupled that.
It would be I cannot even imagine having gone through it as a kid.
There's so much more out there, and often all your personal information is out there, either from you or from somebody else. So it's never been tougher, and we need to recognize that. But second, you hit on this. I would equate this to the concussion syndromes that we went through for several years, where you didn't tell somebody you saw stars or you got your bell rung, because it showed a lack of toughness is how it was perceived. And this is along those same lines, that especially for an athlete to admit, hey, I need help, I have a problem, is a difficult thing to do. So we need to recognize it when they don't do it, but for all the student athletes out there, we need to get them on board with, ask when you need some help. We need you to come forward, and then provide that help for them.
Well, and part of the partnership, it sounds like, is you guys trying to get a jump start on that with the school administration and the teachers and the coaches and the parents, and help maybe bridge that gap a little bit and not put all of the onus on the students for coming forth.
You're exactly right. We need to attack it from all angles. You know, hearing of suicides, hearing of attempted suicides, it's unbelievable to me. But San Diego has one of the highest suicide rate in the country, and it's not a teen issue. It's a population issue, but we can't ignore it. We need to address it, and I think we have a platform here through athletics that we can.
And I'll say this: it doesn't need to just be the extremes of suicide. Like, you don't need to be at that breaking point to come forward and say that something just doesn't feel right. I don't quite enjoy the same things that I used to. I don't have that zest for field hockey or football or whatever it is, because you can nip it in the bud right there, and you can get these great support staff and help before you even have to reach that point. And I just also, like, I cannot stress enough that, like you said, the stigma of toughness and whatever. Like, this affects everybody. And this can affect any. You can be the biggest 5-star recruit and feel just kind of empty and shallow. Like, what is like that? You can be at a D5 school on an 0-10 team. Like, everybody in between. You. This is not something that is limited to a certain range of people.
That's absolutely right. And we're going to find out through what we're doing and UCSD's research ability. We're going to find out if it's something that's more prevalent in athletes than in non-athletes. They've already tested thousands of kids that come into Radies, and what they're finding is about 5% of the young people that they test have some level of depression that needs to be treated. And so we're going to find out, but it would not surprise me if it's higher amongst athletes. There's more pressure on athletes. There's more pressure to succeed and to reach higher levels, to compete on a daily basis. It's not easy what kids have to go through today, and we need to be there.
So you mentioned you're going to be debuting it on the 13th at your symposium. Can we get just a little bit of a preview of how anybody out there watching can get in contact with this organizational movement, whatever you want to call it, how they can start helping their community?
Sure. So either through us, through CIFSDS.org, you can seek help through us. But what we want to do is bring it closer to the schools and the students. So by NAMI, the National Association for Mental Illness, providing these trainings and a lot of resources and documentation, it's going to be readily available at these schools. But if you're not one of these schools and your school hasn't yet started with it, you can contact NAMI directly, and it's NAMI, NAMI. And I don't know their website, but they are prevalent.
We'll include the links to their website. We'll include the links to NAMI. We'll include all the links at the end of this video, so you can reach out immediately and help yourself, help somebody around you. It could be, I mean, is this something where you can reach out and say, hey, I know somebody who knows somebody who needs help, but I don't know how to start this conversation. No,
that's exactly right, Christian. We're going to also start a student leadership group that, just like with concussions, if you see somebody wandering around that obviously doesn't have all their faculties with them at the moment, we've told our student athletes, you need to help that student and report it yourself. Same goes with this, and now we're talking about potentially life-threatening issues. So
and issues
absolutely.
that can ripple out into the rest of the community, because a lot of times it's not just your pain. It's your pain then envelops your friends, your school, your community. Some of the tremendous loss that we've seen still echoes at certain schools.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a crisis in San Diego, and it's a crisis in young people, and we need to be part of the solution.
Well, it sounds like you are trying to be part of the solution, and you're hopefully going to be part of the solution, not a want to be anymore, because
we will be.
The CIF San Diego section is taking a lot of action, partnered with some great people, and we're going to see a lot more of that coming out in the next, hopefully, months as this whole program gets rolled out. We'll leave it there, and like I said, we'll end this with all the links that you guys can find for CIF, for NAMI, for all this research, so that you can help yourself, you can help somebody in your community, you can help somebody that you see from afar, that you're just like, I don't know how to help that person. Now you do know how to help them. Thank you very much for joining us on a little bit more somber, but very, very, very important installment of sitting down inside the office with Commissioner Schniepp. I'm Christian Pedersen. This is the San Diego section. Commissioner Jerry Schniepp, thank you very much for joining us.